Hey guys, welcome to the unexpected second part. I forgot to cover the very last question in the notes, so let me go ahead and do that. The relationship below is a diver coming up to the surface. So our table here is that we're giving time in seconds and then the depth of the diver. So when you're thinking about someone diving, right, they're underwater, and this person is underwater and they're slowly coming up to the surface, which means they're going up, all right? So just go ahead and think about that. So if it says the depth is negative 52, that means they're 52 feet below the surface of the water. All right, so let's go ahead and answer part A. Write an equation in slope-intercept form. Well, this one might take a bit of work, so I'm going to let you be warned that the bell's about to ring in 2 minutes. So if you hear the bell, I'm so sorry, and I hope it doesn't hurt your ears, but that's just kind of your warning. It will ring at 9:50 a.m., so once that bell rings, I apologize, but I'm going to continue to keep going. All right, so we're given a table here, but we want to write an equation in slope-intercept form. Well, in order to write slope-intercept form, I need a slope and a y-intercept, which I'm not given either, but I know how to find the slope as long as I pick 2 points. So let's go ahead and pick 2 points. I'm going to pick the first two, 2, negative 52, and 4, negative 46. Those are my first 2 points, and it doesn't matter what points you use to do the slope formula. x1, y1, x2, y2. So my slope here, I'm going to do negative 46 minus negative 52. Remember that minus sign in the middle is always from the formula. And then 4 minus 2. This is going to equal, let's go ahead and put that in. The numerator equals 6 and the denominator equals 2, which means my slope is 3. But did they just ask to find the slope? No, right? We need to find also the intercept. They didn't give it to us, so we're going to have to start in point slope form. Doesn't matter what point I choose. No. Let's go ahead and pick the third one. Why not? You could also pick the one of the first 2, but I just didn't want all of my circles being together, so that's why I didn't pick one of the first 2. I think the bell's about to ring, just a warning again. All right, so we're going to go ahead and put this in point slope form. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Let's plug in our information. So we would have y, our y1 is negative 40, so plus 40 equals our slope, which is 3, and then x minus 6. Again, this is still not what we want because we want it in slope-intercept form, so let's go ahead and get y by itself. We're going to go ahead and distribute first. So 3 times x is 3x. 3 times negative 6 is negative 18. Y is still not by itself, so we're going to keep going. We're going to subtract 40 on both sides. So you have y equals 3x minus 58. So that's our equation in slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. So we did get to it. It just took a little bit of work, right? So let's go ahead and answer these questions. What is the slope and what does it represent? So our slope here is going to be, let's use a different color. Our slope here from the equation is 3, right? I want you to be looking at that equation, by the way. It is 3. What does it represent? Well, what is the diver doing? He's rising and going to the surface, right? So you have to think about it. He's rising and go to the surface. And I want you to remember that slope is always change of y over change of x. Slope always has y on top. Well, was y our depth or our time? Y was our depth. X is time because time is always independent. So if I'm thinking about my units here for my slope, or what does it mean, we always do y divided by x. So it would be depth divided by time or feet divided by seconds. So what does it represent? It means that he's rising 3 feet per second. And that might seem kind of slow, but realistically, divers can't actually go up that fast, and if they do, it's really bad for their lungs. Okay, what is the y-intercept? Well, the y-intercept in this equation would be 0, negative 58. What does that represent? It means he starts, right, because it's the starting value, at 58 feet below sea level. Okay, so then what would happen if the slope decreased in value? So right now our slope is 3. Currently our slope is positive 3. Whoops, I deleted the L. It says what if it decreases? So let's think a number smaller than 3. Let's think about 2. What would happen if it was 2? Well, if it was 2, that means he would be rising 2 feet per second. So what does that mean? It means that if we decrease the slope, he would rise to the surface at a slower rate, right? Because right now he's going 3 feet per second, but if we decrease it and make it 2, he's rising even slower. What happens if we increase that? If we increase that to like 5, that means he'd be rising 5 feet per second, which means he's going much faster. So that's kind of what I mean by what happens if you decrease or increase. Moving on to the last question, what would happen if the y-intercept increased in value? Well, right now our y-intercept is negative 58. Remember, increase means to become more positive, so it means a bigger number than negative 58. So what if it went to like negative 40, right? We increase it to negative 40. That means that he would start at a higher depth, right? You would start at a higher depth, so what would that really mean? It would take less time to get to the surface. What happens if I decrease the y-intercept value? What if I make it like negative 100? That means he would start at a lower depth and it would take him a lot longer to get to the surface. All right, so I apologize for skipping this question, but hopefully you were able to watch this and understand, again, just interpreting slope-intercept. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask.